G'day, today we're taking on the Underpin on his question mark difficulty, and we're going to try it at about 650 item level. For our Brann Loadout, we're going to set him to DPS, and this is very important, we're going to run Goblomagnetic Bouncing Grenade, since it does about half of his damage. The rank doesn't matter too much, but high ranks do more damage than low ranks, since they can bounce to you and then back to the boss, but this is pretty RNG. If you don't have this, I recommend just farming some more delves, or you could run the pinged Augment chip, which is a little bit less damage, but it's not too big a deal, since we're going to do more damage than Brann anyway. The utility Curio doesn't matter too much. I ran 3-dimensional Bioprinter, since you can clone the ads, but they're still only going to do about 4% of your damage. If you don't have that, I would probably go with Biofuel Rocket Gear, since it's a little bit of extra haste when you kill the ads, which there are a lot of. But you could honestly probably do it without a utility Curio at all, since it's really not a big deal. My Brann was level 60, and if you're at my gear level, you'll probably want him up around there. But if you're doing this in a few weeks' time and you're like 660 or so, then Brann probably doesn't matter much anymore. For your personal gear, you really just want as much damage as you possibly can get, but an on-use trinket is really useful as well. It doesn't really matter what on-use trinket you have, so long as it doesn't give you mastery like House of Cards. I'm using Signet of the Priory, and that works just fine. Try and drop as much mastery as you can from your gear while still keeping your item level high. You only have so much control over this, but yeah, do what you can. Circlet is good. I opted to wear Thunderlord's Crackling Citrine, Undersea Overseer's Citrine, and the stat one. Basically, you're just taking the 2 good damage ones and stats. And then I did opt to swap to the DPS weapon enchant. If you're higher item level than me, you won't have to worry about this, but at this item level, DPS was pretty much the entire challenge, so I swapped literally everything that I could. Candle Confidant isn't actually that great a DPS trinket, but hey, I don't have all options available right now. I'm almost afraid to talk about my talents, honestly. Never run this build in anything that is not this specific boss. So mostly we've avoided the good healing talents since we're not in too much danger, and we've tried to take as much DPS as possible. We don't actually use Nosdormu's teachings much, but if you use Fire Breath at the wrong time, then you can Temporal Anomaly to kind of fix your timing. Energy Loop and Natural Convergence are useful since we're going to be pressing Disintegrate, and so we take Titan's Gift for the same reason. Timeless Magic is so that we get more Life Spark procs because our reversion will last longer. Life Force Mender is obvious. Over here, Time Spiral is very important. And we're going to take basically every movement speed increase we can, since we're going to be moving a lot. Unravel is also very good here, since the boss has a lot of like shield burn phases. And it's good damage, but also it gives you a button to press on the move during those phases, which can be really important. We've ditched basically all of the good healing talents. So as I load up here, there's a few things that you should know. The boss bugs out, and you need to completely reset the delve in between attempts. You can do that by just right-clicking your character and hitting Leave Delve. Hopefully they'll have fixed that by the time that you're doing it. Bloodlust also doesn't currently reset when you wipe to the boss, and so you have to wait 5 to 10 minutes in between attempts. Hopefully they'll fix that soon too. If you sit by the campfire before you enter the boss room, you'll get a 5% int buff in all delves, just by like sitting and eating. It counts as your food buff, but it's better than your other food buffs, so make sure you do that. Before each pull, I'm going to put Echo on me and Brann, and then I'm going to reversion us both, just to farm Living Flame procs. And then the opener here is quite specific. Hopefully you won't need to do this by the time you're on it. I'm going to pop Lust, my potion, and my trinket, and I'm going to try and do as much damage to the boss as possible. The reason this is important is that I want to get his first shield phase before he summons his second set of cronies. Because the entire boss is a DPS check, you just want to get as much damage in as possible, and he does less right now, so it's a good time to just farm damage. This is a pretty good pull. You're going to spend a lot of the fight just kind of running around kicking these balls. And so your hover charges are incredibly valuable. Each of them dies to either 3 bombs or 2 bombs and a fire breath, but you're not going to be able to get all of them with fire breath, so just expect to do multiple bombs. So here I have the shield phase and fire breath, so I know I can just cleave down that last ad. The first shield phase is at 80%, and then after that it's on like a 45-second cooldown. What we're going to aim to do is to get, we need a fire breath for each shield, and we're going to try and get 1 fire breath in between each shield as well. This is a pretty good RNG pull. That crush where he jumps to you can also go on Brann, and sometimes Brann is just in the middle of nowhere, and that just bricks your pull. Thanks, Brann. You generally want to try and kill these ads as soon as possible, since they slow down your DPS by making you move way more. But sometimes there aren't bombs up, or sometimes the bombs are in bad places, and you kind of just have to wait. I should probably have killed those slightly faster, but it's not a big deal. For every second or third shield you have tip up, and you should just use tip right away, since it also gives you a big damage increase for the shield, and also just in general, since it gives you a lot of haste and cooldown reduction. You can see I'm doing a bit of a mix of Disintegrate and Living Flame. It's a bit awkward. When you're more geared, you'll just be able to use Living Flame. But right now, Disintegrate is a DPS increase for me, especially since I don't have Scarlet Adaptation charged a lot of the time. You'll notice that I'm tracking my hover charges. That's because if you get into a bad spot and you don't have any hover charges, you just die. And so I've got Time Spiral as well. I'm not sure if I needed it this attempt or not. This is pretty bad of me. I get a shield phase, but I've still got 2 ads up, so that's going to be a lot more movement than I could otherwise have. And it ends up being a really close shield. When you're not able to hit the boss, try and just press healing spells, both to keep yourself healthy and to stack up Skull Adaptation for more DPS. You can also spam Azure Strike, but its DPS is so pathetic that don't be surprised if it doesn't make a difference. The length these balls get kicked when you hit them isn't very consistent, and so sometimes it kind of just plops in front of you. So you can see a lot is happening right now. Basically, every mechanic will one-shot you. Popping Renewing Blaze while the ads are up isn't too bad an idea, since they'll also shoot you. I don't know where I fucking kicked that. That was a big miss. Okay. This is why I don't play soccer. You don't need too much DPS on the shields. So long as you're DPSing the whole time, you'll probably get it. You have a lot of random RNG procs as well, and so does Brann, so sometimes they'll be really easy, and sometimes they'll be a bit closer. You'll notice I have these cronies really nicely positioned where they're all together. They spawn in like set spots, and they'll spawn in spots close to the boss. So what you want to do is when each set of cronies dies, you just like hide around the room. You can go clockwise or anti-clockwise, it doesn't matter. You just want the boss to be in a spot where there haven't been any cronies. That's also what causes the enrage, since when you run out of room for cronies, they'll start spawning in the stands and just flinging red balls at you from up there, and they're unkillable. These nice red lines that show you where the ball is going also disappear at that point, and so eventually you just get smacked out of nowhere. The boss won't melee you too much, but sometimes you do get hit like 4 times in a row, which is fine so long as you press a healing spell or 2. So you can tell I'm running out of spots here now, and one of the cronies has spawned on the other side of the arena. Since the boss is at 25%, I'm not even going to try and kill him. I'm just going to kill these few that are grouped. And then I'm just going to dodge the other one, since there are no bombs over by him, and the time it would take to kill him is just too much. If it happened very early in the pull, I'd probably just wipe it, but since this is late, I can maybe just kill it before it's a problem. Eventually, at this like sub 20% period, you're going to get another crony spawn, and you're just going to want to try and nuke the boss. And so I'm kind of at that point now. I have spots for one more set of cronies, but that's it. When you can just stand and focus the boss, he does die quite quickly, so you can definitely just make that last push. So I could try and kill those two over there, but at 7% on the boss, it's just not worth it for me. Ideally, I'd kill it before the shield. You can already see the balls starting to fly without red lines. Very fun. You notice I also popped time dilation on myself at this point. That's because with time dilation, I'll happily live a big red orb. And because they're coming from nowhere, I don't know if I'm going to get hit by them. Most of these problems just go away when you have a proper item level. You don't want to know how many attempts this took me, but the good news is if you come in here at like 660, 670, you're going to spend a lot less attempts than I did. Alright, they need to add a question mark, question mark, question mark difficulty, so I have something to do for the rest of the patch. Thanks for watching.